once again I welcome all of our community members from around the world on PC, Xbox and PlayStation. Thank you all for joining us here today. Thank you for being a member of our community, also for being active participants here in our chat and video online live forums. Hope you're enjoying the new structure of the channel. We have gone to a dual stream every day, which means we start out on Destiny Beyond Light, and then in the afternoon or later in the day we have Warzone. Well, I received some messages from my community members asking what was the idea behind that. Well, it is very simple. Our community here on my channel is all about people meeting each other, joining forces from every corner of the planet and finding solutions to whatever is on their mind, or indeed whatever is preoccupying them in the active games. And we are all moving towards the cross-platform access. If you follow the industry news on my Twitter channel, you would have seen that Xbox and PlayStation are basically gearing towards all the games being accessible through any platform that you have in your possession. And some of the games like PUBG, Apex and Warzone, the games I streamed and played here on my channel quite extensively during the last few years, have already gone down that route. Destiny is still getting there. We are still looking for the cross-platform access, but presently we are getting the cross-platform save, and that's really helped. I know that for myself, as I've played Destiny on PlayStation and Xbox. That really helped tremendously in terms of my progress and also in terms of the community, because if you have a large community on PlayStation and people are kind of used to getting in and participating in your gaming sessions, then obviously you will have some issues once you migrate to PC or Xbox, because some people may not want to come in because they feel, well, they're just watching, they want to be an active participant, and it's quite visible and it's quite noticeable in fact. And I really want to ask everyone else in our community to pay attention to that kind of discovery. We are very much presently still platform based, and that will be disappearing. I think the platform based streamers and gamers on PC will be always attached to, well, presently they will always be attached to FPS games, looters and shooters, and the games that require speed and aiming. That includes death matches, includes strategic kind of Verdansk style areas of exploration, and altogether there is going to be a large group of people who will always prefer keyboard and mouse within the present technology that we have in order to get the very best results. But I think if we're looking at the community content, connectivity, people talking to each other, joining forces, then cross-platform is obviously ideal. In fact, if you are an Xbox gamer, or if you've been with Xbox and Microsoft for 20 plus years or so, you would know that recently we launched xCloud, which is presently delivered in a beta format. So that format is still experimental, it's not fully functional, but it's giving you some ideas on what is to follow. And I have to say, I tested it from about February of this year, and I am one of the founder members, and I got my badge and everything from Microsoft, and I was absolutely astonished by the quality of its functionalities. Basically, you could access, at that time, just a group of games, the selected games that were given to us on Xbox Game Pass, and you were able to just simply click on the app on your Android, so that means your tablet or phone, and then you'll be able to play straight away. Initially we had games that required the use of Xbox Bluetooth compatible controller, so it's the new generation controllers, and we are getting now quite a few games that do not need this, and these are the games that are not really your FPS looters and shooters, but some platformers, some puzzlers, the simple games that indeed perhaps in its graphics and functionality belong to the older generation of PC games. And you just pull out your phone, you're somewhere up and about, like in a park, or have a break between your classes at college, or I don't know, in a pub or restaurant within the normal periods, not during the times of pandemic. And then you access your app, which is your Xbox app, Xbox Game Pass app, and then you have these options. Do you want to watch it on your Android? So it's like instant streaming. You click on it, you access the game, and you can play it straight away. And you get on screen controls as well. So you don't need your controller, you don't need to carry it around for a certain number of games. So that's the future. We know from the developers of PUBG and COD, Call of Duty, that they already had mobile apps for quite some time, and I have to tell you, I've tested them both and they're absolutely incredible. And what I really liked about PUBG initially was that the PUBG for mobile performed a lot better than on any other platform. And a lot of people ask me, why do you say that? Because, you know, tablets or phones, like small screen and this and the other. There is one very important thing in there. Everybody was on the same speed and everybody was able to use exactly the same setup. Obviously, some tablets and some phones will have faster processing, but the actual internet speed was identical if you're using 4G network. So it doesn't have any difference, right? And that is consistently and considerably different if you are entering the arena of PvP here on consoles and PCs, because it will be dependent, the results of course, and your hit ratio will be dependent on the setup, what type of PC you have, what kind of processor your PC is using, as well as quality graphics and everything else, in addition to the most important thing, which is called internet speed. If you are lagging, if you're having the speeds which are not up to scratch, and indeed it goes like it's reciprocal. Better quality setup, greater the need for faster speeds, and that's not just to do with accessing the server of the of the provider. It's also to do with the fact that your graphics will be burning up your bandwidth, and therefore they could be slowing down the system if you're having a very slow upload, like for instance myself and many other UK-based gamers, because we do not have fiber easily accessible in our country, and we've got to be resorting to broadband. Broadband is okay if you're watching things and if you're downloading. You can have speeds up to 25, 30 megabits per second, but the upload that our providers are giving us is just one, and you will know from both experience and I guess from the various internet forums that you require at least 5 for streaming and at least 10 to 15 if you want to have a smooth PvP gameplay. We do know that lots of people in Europe have the upload that's exceeding 500, even on the Wi-Fi. In America, it's it's basically the standards that they have, and therefore they will have a much greater supremacy when accessing these forums. In fact, I talked yesterday at length about the article published in Metro, but I've seen articles of that sort also on PC Gamer and Games Radar, indicating that the new consoles, the brand new ones, the Project X and PlayStation 5, will be burning up a lot more bandwidth. So I have seen also some news, some postings on Twitter coming from various gamers worldwide, complaining that Warzone is performing a lot better on PlayStation 4 than on PlayStation 5, or indeed on the older generation Xbox as well. And they were complaining that the new console doesn't seem to be working. Well, that is not the case. You're completely wrong in your assumptions. Your console is working perfectly, but the problem you have is your internet service provider. You are on broadband, or you are on the internet speeds that do not suffice the bandwidth that such consoles, the new consoles, require. Don't forget, 4K, 8K compatibility requires much greater speed, much better quality signal, and copper wiring will not do it. So it's as simple as that. So the consoles work perfectly. If you want to test your console, do not play a multiplayer, do not go online. Get one of the games which are either downloaded to your disk, hard drive, or play them off a disk, and you'll be able to get a perfect gaming experience. You'll get 4K up to 8K in some instances, and you will get a perfect, silky smooth gameplay without any interferences. But if you're entering a live online gaming arena, then it's a different story altogether. So I just want to really yet again reiterate the point. I think it is going to be a concern because lots of people are expecting the console still to arrive. There have been significant delays in delivery because of demand, the pandemic and everything else. And they want to be, and they need to be realistic. They need to know what to expect. So if you invest £500 in order to get your new consoles, then make sure that you also invest about £60-70 in your fiber optic speeds if you can get them in your local area. If you're living in an area like myself, where they do not want to provide you with new infrastructure, then you're stuck basically, because you can't have it. There will be no fiber optic for as long as the local provider is not wanting to deliver it. And I live in town centre, in one of the wealthiest counties in England, and we have really everything top notch, from the very high quality public services, public transport. The infrastructure is probably amongst the best that we have in our country. But when it comes to the internet, it's just really crazy. It's a bit of they've done a trick. The government quite a few years back said that it was a legal requirement for all areas to have very fast speeds on the internet. So what it did was they allocated areas. So it's not just like every single street, but a district that has like one hub with fiber optic, and they said that's good enough. So the fact that I've got a fiber cabinet down on the main street doesn't mean that all of us that live in the local area can connect to it. We can have like a couple of buildings connected to it. It's got limited capacity. So quite frankly, we really are waiting for new technology to rise, the technology that will give us that degree of speed without really having the need to connect to local street cabinets, and that will take some time, I believe. So beware, if you are getting your new consoles, you must make sure that these consoles are playing games which are indeed fully downloaded, and if you have any hiccups on lag or issues around playability, hit ratio, that will be connected to your internet speeds. Also, do not forget, new consoles have very, very high quality processing power. They are really on the level of top-notch PC gaming rigs, and the old style idea that consoles will not perform as good, the graphics will be poorer, that's basically being sent to oblivion. And if you watched presentations done on the Series X that I watched, and the comparative studies between, let's say, the Xbox One and the new one, you will see the difference everywhere, be it from the quality of graphics, through the loading procedures. Everything else seems to be more advanced, faster, more adaptable to the requirements that the gamers of today will have. And also, don't forget, the new games will be providing you with more content, high quality graphics. I'm just thinking, the game like Warzone Legion is a very good example, because it's the first game in history that will allow you to be selecting any participant, any non-playable character whom you meet on the street, to become a member of your faction. So it's quite extraordinary. So if you actually select these characters and they become playable characters, it means that you will get quite a lot of people coming in on the PvP, and also just within the AI engine that the game has, it will be requiring a lot more speed, a lot more processing power, and everything else. So I'm very curious to try it. I've not played it yet. Some of our community members already acquired the game, and I'm personally very curious to see and hear what the experience of the game is. It looked to me very similar to a mixture of Assassin's Creed and, most importantly, Splinter Cell, the original major stealth game that was launched almost 20 years ago. And it's very similar. I think the characters are behaving a bit like Sam Fisher. They're very sneaky, they're very quiet, they're hiding, they're doing all sorts of things that will be endangering the enemy. And overall, it looked like a really fantastically entertaining game. On the other hand, for myself, a Londoner, absolutely love seeing my city being so well designed and so well presented. In fact, when watching the Xbox Celebration presentation a couple of weeks ago, they were driving a car, and they literally drove around Barbican, Old Street and Moorgate, and I could see my old offices in there. Honestly, this is quite extraordinary. You see your own local environment, you actually feel like knocking on that door, walking in and having a look what's inside. That's not possible, of course, but seeing the building from the outside was good enough for me, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it and really look forward to the game. You will know from the experience of my broadcast that I do not purchase those brand new releases unless they are provided on a package like what we get here on the Game Pass, because they're very expensive. As an avid gamer who is in possession of many thousands of games, over the years I collected obviously quite a number, and I have no intentions of breaking the bank, and sometimes it pains me, and specifically I think in recent times we've seen younger generation of gamers wanting to hop on immediately, and like for instance when Destiny was released, the Beyond Light chapter last week, we had everyone amongst the big streamers jumping on the game and delivering it. There are several reasons for that. Lots of these guys are partnered with the big developers, and they get those games for free. in order to promote online, so don't actually spend the money purchasing a game that costs like $90. But nevertheless, it's a trend. It's a trend where you are, I guess, a bit like going and seeing a AAA blockbuster in your local cinema. You want to be basically a part of something that is exciting, that's new, and the overall earnings expectations are presently literally narrowed down to the first or the second weekend of the actual release, and I find that really to be crazy. I mean, I remember the days of Star Wars where you had the film being screened in cinemas for 2 or 3 years in a trot. Think about it, it's like 900 days this film would be screening in one cinema, all performances of the day, and for 2 years all the performances would be almost sold out. The times have changed. The means to which we access information is very different today. In 1977, there was no internet, there was no satellite TV, there was no cable, there was nothing really. And cinema was still one of the most important sociable activities for people of all generations. In addition, it was providing you with a very interesting content, with I guess, fewer titles compared to today. But the old style social gatherings, you would go to a cinema, you would meet your friends, you go for coffee, you maybe go for dinner, and that still is for myself one of the most popular ways of enjoying that medium. And I have a large group of film buffs, and we call them BFI veterans, people who have been going to the British Film Institute, previously called National Film Theatre, for many decades, and we always enjoy having a chat after we watched a particular film or attended a specific event, because it's not about watching a film and fantasizing about what life's like. It's about us discussing how we kind of value the transformation of life that we've seen on the screen, and the way we sort of get affected by it, the way our emotions react to it, what we like about a particular film, or indeed what we really hated. I think in either way, the discussions are very interesting and sometimes quite heated, because I have some directors that are well known whom I do not like at all, and my friends absolutely adore them. So therefore our chats, our dialogues are very, very interesting. But this is what makes that activity worthwhile. The reason I've set up a channel here was basically like an experiment. And obviously I knew that gaming community was much greater, a lot more interactive and up to scratch than the older guys who are watching films at home, doing it kind of fairly in a solitary fashion, and then still meeting in cinemas. Today we are living in an era where online communication is everything, and why not create a community where such people can be brought in and watch things together, communicate and partner up, have fun, and sometimes even later meet in life. We've seen from Twitch activity in the last 5 years that many people who met online ended up as married partners or business associates, and that's absolutely terrific, because really through somebody's gaming activity, the way they behave, the way they do things here online, you are really getting to know them instantly. And we've seen that with, for instance, PvP gaming. You really tell the character of that person immediately through the way they behave. It's a behavior that's represented through the way they play the character, the way they interact with the team. And in fact, we had yesterday decided that one of our regiments would be called teamwork is dreamwork, right? And that's going to be it's going to be abbreviated, but teamwork is dreamwork for any major tactical strategic PvP game. And remember that. And when you get people coming in as randoms, you'll be able to tell straight away whether they belong to a member of a team, whether they wanted a solo effort, whether they're selfish, whether they're genuine and generous, whether they're attentive and kind, whether they're rude. There are all kinds of things that come up straight away. So it's a very, very good filter if you are a psychologist or psychiatrist, through which you can analyze how people behave. And it's a very, very interesting niche area of my own personal kind of interest, and I have been keeping an eye on that already for quite some time. Anyway, cut long story short, this was an experiment in order to build the same forum for film dialogue, a forum dedicated to film history that I've been running for a number of years, well, a great number of years in fact. The only difficulty I had there was, you see, in here, we step in, we either watch the game on Twitch and join forces and play the game together, right? And then we can talk and we can squad up and have a lot of fun. And that's all licensed, it's all authorized, it's promoting the game and our social interactivity. With films and television series, studios are not allowing this. And if I want to watch a film together with others, I have got to be watching it by myself. I can't have it in a public forum like this, like streaming it on Twitch, and then hundreds of thousands of people will just come in and join forces with me and discuss it. This is not possible because of the copyright and licensing laws, which in fact are completely outdated. They belong to the 1920s of the last century and not the 1920s of the 21st one. So I had an app that was both legal and authorized in the US called Rabbit, and this app was basically giving us an opportunity that anything that's accessible on the internet, inclusive of subscription channels like Prime and Netflix, could be easily streamed on Rabbit. So I was streaming films that were in my archive on YouTube. I have an archive of about, I think, 40 or 50,000 films, and the vast majority of these are some experimental shorts and silence. Silence do not have licensing, and any silence, basically, unless they are like a documentary on an actor from the era, are not covered by the copyright and licensing laws, so therefore they could be freely accessible. You have, if you're an avid fan of silent cinema, never ever had there been a better way through which you could learn about that part of film history. It would comprise 25 years of it, because silent films kind of receded towards the end of the 20s. But the quantity of titles, curiosities, rarities, and previously unseen films, even the excerpts from those that were soon lost, or indeed films that no longer exist, is there in abundance. So you will have no difficulty in researching, exploring, finding out for yourself, and discovering some of those wonderful, wonderful artists who participated during that era of cinema history. The trouble occurs if you're looking at newer films, specifically the films from, let's say, 1960s onwards, and obviously the blockbusters television series. So basically, Rabbit worked very well. I had fantastic viewing sessions with lots of people. Some of those really wanted to be educated on experimental films, documentaries, animated shorts, rarities, curiosities, cult films. And we screened quite a number. I had seasons every single day that were dedicated to one genre. So let's say on Monday we had pre-code films, on Tuesday we had film noir, on Wednesday we had comedy, on Thursday we had experimental films and maybe some horror, etc., etc. So every day was presenting you something new, delivered in seasons, and I loved it. I had some interactivity, but it wasn't really as great as I expected. The vast majority of people are watching their films on a larger screen. That's obviously their TV screen in isolation. They watch TCM, they watch like Film 4 on Demand, BBC iPlayer, also with the rewinds, and then they join forces on Twitter. So you have hashtag Film Club or TCM or I don't know, Film of the Week, whatever, and then they throw in the comments. It's wonderful, and I've got that on my Film Dialogue hub as well. But it isn't really quite the same. Running a podcast, running a live forum where people watch something and comment immediately afterwards in discussion forum is a lot more pertinent. And it will take still some time before we iron out the restrictions. I know this full well because I have friends who are running the best silent cinema club in Europe, and it's called Kennington Bioscope. And they were telling me for quite some time about all the difficulties they have even today, if they want to screen certain films. All the films are distributed on digital formats, but they still have to pay a license. Yet they still have to pay for every single screening a very, very hefty fee. And considering that the vast majority of films are not covered by licenses, if you view them on the internet, it's just crazy, and it's preventing both the club and the people who run it from screening whatever they really wanted. And obviously everything has to be done within a legal format for obvious reasons. They use a wonderful, wonderful setting called Cinema Museum in South London, and anyone who's been to London would actually, I would advise you to go and check it out, because I don't think there is a place like that anywhere in the world. Maybe in the US, but it will be like more regional, more local. This is an institution, which is a charity also, that caters for everything the exhibitor related. So it's not the place that is providing you with the history of the medium, like the film. It's giving you the history of the exhibitors, the cinemas as they were, with props, with seats, with all kinds of things that the old picture palaces would have had in their possession, and they collected this over many years, literally UK and worldwide. So we come in there, it's a bit like Aladdin's cave of nostalgia, right? You come in and you find the way cinemas looked like in the 1920s, the 1930s. The props are up, the old posters, the framed photographs with signatures, the uniforms of the ushers. Just literally anything. Go to the top floor where we watch films. You have a library. I should say it's a bit like a bookshop, but actually you can also sit there, read any of the books, similar to what we had in Charing Cross bookshops a little while back. And then you have this wonderful social environment where people go there especially to meet others. I honestly do not know any better place in Britain, and I've been a member or a participant with some of the screenings from the very beginning, and the institution kind of grew because originally it only had museum facilities, but it's gone down the route of running events and screenings. And the whole institution was facing a threat of eviction recently because the owners of the building that was in Victorian times the home of Charlie Chaplin, run as a Victorian workhouse in the 1890s, has been basically proposed for sale, and there was a lengthy campaign that the owners of the club and the directors of the museum were running, and I was pleased to see that they succeeded. They secured a longer term lease with a new owner, and the property was basically protected from being sold, because goodness knows what would happen with all the props and the inventory if they were to relocate, because quite frankly the building is palatial. It's similar to what you had in other places around Victorian England, manor houses and massive big places where there was a lot of space, and we know that today the buildings like that are no longer built. We have warehouses, but that's about it, And it is a curious phenomenon that what in fact could be researched free of charge is still being taxed for, and I'm very much against this. I think the films that will have commercial value, and they will have a different kind of grading considering the age, could be in a different category, but for the vast majority surely we should be able to access them with ease. And I also dispute the pricing strategies of our film museum, BFI. The tickets there are far too high for what they're offering, and you can't be expecting people to be watching a film from 1920s that is maybe 60-70 minutes long and pay the price as if they were going and seeing Star Wars or Avengers in one of the local cinemas. It's just not acceptable. You need to have a different way of grading the value and providing different ticket prices. And I think also considering that Xbox and PlayStation as well as Netflix and Prime have gone down the route of subscriptions, where you pay a subscription and you watch all these different films whenever you want. These cinemas will need to consider the old style memberships, where you would pay a membership fee and therefore you would get greatly discounted tickets, and that is something that surely will need to be considered. Also, in view of the fact that the BFI does get government subsidies, so even if had empty cinema, they've got certain targets and they have certain requirements in order to suffice if they were looking at the overall revenue. But I think it just seems to me that there should be a different policy on what is to be done in order to attract customers, and most importantly to enable the education of younger generations on all that was there before them. They have a wonderful media tech and also a terrific BFI player online, and we can access very many films in there. The trouble is that those films have documentary value. You have, like, for instance, a phenomenal Britain Film Hub, where we can literally access whatever has been present literally within the sphere of national cinema for more than a century and a half, and lots of people will be able to access short documentaries and films and everything else that is related to their local area. In fact, I discovered some short films, amateur footages in fact, of the area where I live, and they were delightful. They were from the 1950s and 1960s. There was some related to the First World War, and altogether I had a lot of fun, and I was very excited to have discovered some of the clips that told me what the local area looked like at the time. So I recommend everyone to go to BFI Player. The vast majority of films there are easily accessible online. They're free of charge. You got the option of watching for free. You can subscribe, or you can become a patron. So you have lots of different means to which you'll access the services. And I would advise you first of all to start free of charge, to become a bit more familiar and more accustomed to all that is there. And that in itself is certainly a way to get to know all of its contents, and then later you are going to be able to enjoy the subscription benefits if you want to watch some of the films that they offer on a monthly price. So that is the way it is, and I think the overall industry needs to be considering the ways that things are today, and I would not like to see the occurrence of what had happened with the music publishers and people who are running the CD industry. They just stuck to the old prices where it was visible that the access on the internet would be ruining the markets, and then eventually everything went south and the entire industry collapsed. So the wonderful shops like Virgin and H&B in Britain disappeared because obviously the running costs were too high and the products were offered on the prices which were no longer reflecting the current status in the markets. So all of that is very much of concern. I'm hoping that people in the know will actually get to know what to do. They will be more in sync with the current status, and I'm definitely wanting to encourage them to experience the audiences and make everything a bit more accessible and amicable. Because at the end of the day, also with video gaming, we've seen there is a great need presently to introduce the older games from, let's say, the 1990s, and you had some of them reworked and remastered. What better example than Tetris? Tetris was very, very popular on all platforms, and they've done a fantastic redux. Honestly, for a game which is as simple as that, a platformer, you have this absolutely wonderful new addition that is coupled with excellent graphics, with music, with interactive gameplay, with competitions, with multiplayer, and it's just like bringing the old to the new and making it a bit more next gen, and introducing game again to younger audiences. And I think this is the approach that everybody else will need to take as far as the film and television industries are concerned as well. Today's a big day. PlayStation fans will know that in the UK we are getting PlayStation 5. During the last 24 hours the new console was launched. There's been a lot of excitement, a lot of hype, and plenty of various postings and inclusions on social networking forums and elsewhere. I've seen many of my community members being very excited about the new console arriving, and we've had with the new console also, I guess, the capacity to provide better graphics, to see the old games slightly offered in a better format. Some of them will have 4K upgrades, so anyone who is on PlayStation should well be very excited. The console is very similar to the new Xbox. The only difference there is with interactive services. PlayStation are not as socially inclined. They do not have the full integration of all forums similar to Microsoft. So still, if you want to be connecting with others, it will take a bit of time. The app is ideal for individual private messaging or connection with your own group membership, but when it comes to working and dealing with things, dealing with people who are not part of your community, it's not really well developed. And I've heard today, in fact, I just read earlier before starting my stream, that the boss for the PlayStation Europe, I think, or is he? Actually, he might be the CEO altogether, Mr. Jim Ryan. He said, well, we are not going to be offering anything similar to Game Pass. No new games will be released through PlayStation Now services, full stop, because we do not see that as financially viable. We have got no muscle behind the membership, and altogether we are not going to be doing this at present. I think this is not a very wise decision, because Xbox will basically get many more followers and members if those services become accessible in all countries of the world. And I think this is exactly what they want. They want, with xCloud, first of all, to capitalize on access, secondly, to minimize on expense. People ask me, why is it that Microsoft services are not fully available in some parts of Europe? Well, they'll be looking at the number of participants, because the services they provide are unbelievably costly. A country like Germany, France and Britain, these are the biggest countries in Europe. The greatest number of people live in them, and what happens is you are going to be getting very many people jumping in and trying out the services on this $1 offer, in addition to subscribing in the longer term. So you will get members coming in using the services. This will work out momentarily, and that will be it. But for a smaller country, let's say like Slovenia, Slovakia, Croatia, the countries that have a population of a couple of million, it's more difficult because they will have fewer subscribers and the services still will be costing, the maintenance and everything else. So running it from xCloud means that people will not need to be accessing the localized regional services, but they'll have it through the centralized server, which is on xCloud, and that will enable it. Basically, that will make it easily accessible worldwide from wherever you are, and that in itself is a very, very good way forward. I'm personally very excited and very happy to see it, and I look forward to seeing many more people joining and participating in our live online forums. This is where PlayStation is lagging, and I think this is where they will experience some difficulties. Also with the live presentations, you would have seen Microsoft were investing a lot in the regular presentations like Inside Xbox and those that we get from Major Nelson every single week. PlayStation are not having anything of that sort, and I personally think that this is a very, very wrong approach. Communities online are all about connecting and communicating when it comes to gaming, and I think certainly my experience was very extensive 2 years of streaming on PlayStation and connecting with PlayStation communities through various forums. It is not evolving as fast as the ones on other platforms, and irrespective of what PS executives will tell you, I think once you get the biggest blockbusters offered on the day of the release through Xbox Game Pass services, just on a subscription price, that's going to kill the other. That's certainly my own personal opinion. And we also have seen that PlayStation did introduce a similar pattern of some of the AAA blockbusters coming to the live streaming services, but they were very, very time limited, so you would have them for 30, 60 or 90 days. Well, to play a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 for 30 days is just not on. You'd need to hammer it every day 12 hours to complete most of the campaigns and get some of the content, but there's no joy in overdoing it. The pleasure of doing these massive AAA blockbuster open world games is in experiencing them bit by bit. So you play 2 or 3 hours a day and you just progress, a bit like the protagonist rides his horse, goes from one place to another, explores everything, and like in life, he learns as he goes along. Overdoing it, being force-fed, is not going to work, and it will cause just a kind of frustration, and you will not remember everything, you will forget it. The kind of trouble I sometimes have when I have to be quickly skimming through the games to get an idea what they're like. I don't like doing this. I like sitting down and then enjoying my game for the time being, doing it slowly but surely. And also what I particularly enjoyed in the last 3 years now, since I started my Twitch channel, has been really connected to my community. So anything I wanted to know about the game, let's say I entered a new AAA blockbuster, a game like Red Dead or The Division or Destiny, and I knew nothing at all about the ins and outs of gameplay. Within days I would get 2,000-3,000 people popping in and teaching me, training me on what to do and how to remaster some of the skills, and that's fantastically valuable. That is just incredible. A, you're making new friends. B, you're being taught. Thirdly, the vast majority of people are very attentive and kind. They're very interested in joining in, helping out, and also enjoying the game through the position of a mentor. Well, think about it. We all learned in life through our mentors, and it's just absolutely extraordinary when you are having a mentor who is providing you with the correct guidance and skill, and that's exactly what I'm getting through the Twitch channels and the forums online, where people pop in and then mentor me on this new game. And guess what? I learned fast, and therefore later on, in a few months, I'm doing the same thing with others. I'm training others to play Destiny. That's exactly what happened. I mean, I knew literally nothing about Destiny, and about the gameplay, right? I knew about Destiny, but the actual gameplay, what I had to do, and the way everything worked. And when I started out with my channel, Destiny was back to the channel, I think, in September of 2018. It's 3 years ago, roughly. Well, 2 years ago, but we are now into the third year. And I was really surprised with the number of people that came in straight away, helped me, and provided me with guidance and skill and expertise. So, you know, it's a kind of community that evolves, just like anything else in life. It represents life. And what I particularly like in the current open world games is that they actually reflect life. Day-night cycle, seasonal content, the way people behave, what you discover there, you know, day after day you're collecting certain items. It will take a bit of time for you to kind of grind certain activities in order to get to a particular target, etc., etc. So, you know, similar to film, games are reflecting life, and at the same time they are also very, very different. They are like an interpretation of life, and that itself is very, very remarkable. Right, so at the moment we have been looking at various other aspects of online gameplay. We've seen and heard that the new consoles have been released. If any of you are using them, then please send me a message. Make sure you contact me and tell me about your first-hand experience, particularly after the first week on Xbox or PlayStation. If you are a UK resident, then your PlayStation would have been just launched today, and therefore you will not have a lot of experience. So perhaps towards the end of the next week you'll tell us what God of War, Detroit and Heavy Rain looked like on your setup. Right, I need to take a short break, and once I come back we'll crack on with some activities in Destiny Beyond Light. I need to tell you that yesterday we were cut short because we did have some internet outages in our local area, which has been of great concern to me, and I wasn't able to complete the stream or indeed the activity. So I think it's likely that today we'll simply carry on with the same activity, if not from the beginning, then from the moment where we left it off. And the activity was destroying that dreadful enemy that was allocated by barracks, and it was very tricky, it was very difficult if I was doing it by myself. So once I come back we'll carry on with that adventure. We'll first of all do some admin as always, and then crack on with the most important campaign mission of the day. So stay with us, I'll be back in 5. as you can see, we are having these two quests that require completion. Complete the Technocrat is the one that we started out on yesterday, and then Europa Arms as well. Europa Arms is a bit of a grind, and the other is just simply a campaign mission. So if we look at the bounties, we completed 2 of these. We completed Europa Grenades, so we get some rewards, and then Europa Precision was completed as well. These were given to us by Barracks, so we'll carry on with the rest today. And let me see quests. These bounties are still highlighted for some reason. Go back to the Beyond Light quest. Well, we got another one, so it's 3 of these. Europa Legs as well, needs to be checked. So we'll go to destinations. Before we do that, I'll have a look at the inventory to see whether we need any upgrades, any inventory adjustments, or anything else. 1124, 1135, 1140, 1140. The other ones we'll get rid of. And then we'll do immediately some modding. You have got to do modding every single time, remember that. It's very, very important. Discipline mod will enabling quick recharge. And then in here we'll go for sword and ammo finder. Very useful. Ammunition finders. Okay, so that's sorted, and we need to rechange the appearance to be a bit more in sync with the rest of the outfit. See what the outfit is like. There we are. Quite like this one. I don't like that blue. That's annoying. I prefer the other one. Yeah, right, I'll take that one then. Okay, so that's sorted. We need to look at the other one. 129. Okay, these are the old ones. 1107, 1122, 1130, even 44. Okay, these ones we get rid of. But you know what? We'll actually go back to the tower because I want to infuse this one. That's 37 as well. I'm keeping these. 27, 36, 40. The other ones we'll get rid of. Oh, the other one we can get. Distribution. Yeah, distribution. Reducing energy cooldown. Appearance could be... No, we'll change the appearance. Armor cosmetics. Let's see. Yeah, I guess this could pass. Just like I said, we'll go back to the tower in order to do some extra admin. I thought perhaps we could polish it off faster without the need to go there, but actually I was wrong. got to tell you, it's so annoying. Something completely unexpected happens, and about to make myself a cup of tea, and accidentally I pushed my cookie jar, and it fell, and I had all of crap everywhere, and it was so infuriating. I was just trying to get my cup of tea. The trouble is, when you're a streamer, you really have got to have everything 100% advanced, and I got my setup, which is perfect. But I had my phone getting messaging at the same time, me doing the stream, tea, water boiling. It was like really crazy. And now I've got crumbs everywhere. Very, very annoying. I can't really do anything at the moment. I need to clean it up afterwards. But I've seen other people, people who stream live cam, doing certain things like spilling it on their keyboard, and that is infuriating. Because if it's like juice or something, that keyboard will have to go to straight away. And if it's a keyboard that costs few, guess what happens? The policy that some people have: no drinks or food or anything gaming deck. So down to this. Anyway, but earlier, I told you earlier. My goodness, not properly today for some reason. Good night's sleep. Went to bed last 2 nights. Well, prior to like quite late. And the reason for that was I really tried to sort out problem Warzone had during last week, and really made it workable. It was a major problem, and yet the second night running, we couldn't hear each other. So I tried to resolve this, and it just didn't seem. And the other problem that's persisting, and I really have to get hold of Microsoft Award. On here are party members on our recordings, and I don't know what's causing it. It's game specific, crazy, and I'm because the content we had, the shins and everything else during this week on Warzone stream was terrific. It was something I've ever had live, and you could hear as you were watching the stream. But once I recorded, basically once I went to VOD back, then the party members, and that is utterly infuriating. To find a way to resolve this, because for the obvious reasons. I was doing that a couple of nights ago. Last night it was just calling it a night early, and I'd sleep. So not sure as to why maybe 100%. But if you said that I'm mincing words, or that I'm coming up with some repetitive comments, I do apologize. It's just my brain basically. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and I'm trying my utmost best always, but I'm not really a morning person. The other day about being in the zone, my friends Akapupa and Lucia were here, questions about this, and gaming in the zone for me is not really called 10 o'clock in the morning. It's not early. I think my brain's not as cool be later, and basically you start streaming, get up at 7, so I need to do prep, to eat, I need to do all the chores, do the admin, do the news, so it's and didn't get up at 7 to 8, which was, and therefore it was causing me issues. Right, I think for now come with some action. See what our friend Heidi.
Hi there.
Hello, my friend. So what's that? That's
Check.
legendary. Oh, I see. We're getting, as we pick up legendaries, we don't have to anymore go downstairs to get the coding.
Received.
These are immediately delivered.
All done.
It's quite good. It's a chore going back and decoding, specifically collect quite a few. He doesn't have anything for us either.
Oh, shall we begin then?
Indeed, sir. Let's proceed. No, it's just purchasing. It was in the original game. In the sequel, New Destiny Universe, turned obsolete. It doesn't have any major significance. Right, so do we have money is the question. The answer is we do not. Arsenic bite. I don't really like body, not my kind of thing. So now we need to be getting shard. Dusk-like shard included we were purchasing these. I think they want to make Destiny as grindy as possible. This is definitely not appreciated. I do not like this. I have, as you could see, so it's not a 2 of these would take out probably more. you know, the idea behind it, it must be to be working in order to get some in Destiny universe, so that they are trying to do. We know for difficult and cores are, and then, you know, need Dusklight Shard and just leak. Sukapupu did say the other day that Destiny is a massive, and I think lengthy grinding is a double-edged sword. I put that this innate at some rebellion as well, and from the when they state and will be you will Destiny it's not possible. I agree with that. To get to 1,100 or 11,500, putting the communing with basically, you'll need a lot. Mean to have to be basically often not like it, and on not just game. It is disappointing to see somebody just walks in, long as they can. You will have to be doing Crucible and Gap in order to get. If you are to be doing and you're under the monsters and the very hard additional to that until you game did either, and all about that something for everyone. Together with Beyond Light, Monument can do the grinds on any of the exotics, so it's brand new. You don't have to do any control instructions, which and traditions. So it is really quite systematic. I think the way correctly is you can as you replay, then you'll get, because this is literally just bringing it to the very beginning of New Light. And this is the quest that we'll do once we complete Beyond Light campaign. It's called The Guardian Rises. So that is a reworked first chapter of Destiny 1 with a new character called Shohan. And Sekapup already played it and he said it was very good. So I'm very curious to find out how they reworked it. And Shohan is going to be your in-game tutor, something that this game was not having, because the original idea was the other tutors will be other gamers, people who come in, people who join squads. But I think after 7 years they realized some of the new members perhaps will be a bit put off by the absence of that in-game tutor, so it's optional in fact. You can do it or you don't have to do it if you are a veteran, but if you're a new player you will have to go through this. And that's basically the first step towards a full integration of Destiny 1 into this Destiny universe. We talked enough. He's now just a bit annoyed that I can't infuse my weapons. I need to go back. A lot to get. Modules. Dusklight Shard. Okay. So let me see. Dusklight Shard. It's probably this one, isn't it? The presence of the Traveler's Shard in the EDZ has changed this rock on a molecular level. Take this to Devon Cave in Trostland to discover its value. Well, we need to be collecting this material obviously in the EDZ, so we need to what to do actually. Temporarily we'll do high rank items, slot them in. Rifle 1140. Yeah, we'll have 1170. 42. 14. 131. 40. That's 7. That's 11. Fit that. And 42. Seeing power in here. Everything very expensive, isn't it? Discipline. Ability cooldown. Empty socket, insulation. It's the same. Increased mobility. Wall-mount cells affect and damage targets at greater distance. That's the that's a mod that I never used before, so I'm quite curious to see what this is. Legs of Optimacy. Could use a better. And then default shader. I think we'll take the other one. Yeah, this one. No, maybe not. Yeah, these ones are quite good. Quite like these. I want it to be really kind of blending in well with the overall appearance of my character. Okay, so we are more than ready to engage with our next task. We'll need to go back to Europa. And we need to do Technocrat. Charon's Crossing is the next destination, so buckle up, get ready for some fierce firefights in Destiny Beyond Light.
Belask, friend.
He looks really menacing in this close-up, don't you think? It's the closest I had of him altogether. Can come even closer, look at this.
Yes.
Taking a couple of screenshots of his close-up, which I think is quite good. Right, so cool. Our next destination. Okay. Well, for all of you who watched yesterday, the battle is really difficult and it does require a lot of speed, effort, skill and experience, and you definitely do need other people on board to be finishing it in good time. think. Where's my guillotine?
We've got Fallen converging on a crux of darkness. Get ready. They seem to have upgraded quite a bit.
Here's Lucas. Got that. I don't have any more on my sword. Boo! No. Probably can go there, I think. It's immune. That's odd. Crikey. Just.